Hello and welcome. My name is Ursula and today I'm going to be sharing with you my sleep paralysis story. In my last video, I talked about using the sleep paralysis state to astral project. In that video, I shared some of my experiences with sleep paralysis, but I really wanted to dedicate a whole video to explaining my journey with sleep paralysis. By sharing my story, I hope that I can help you either have the tools to get out of sleep paralysis when you need to, or go further and use it to astral project. When I was about 17, I moved into a flat with some of my girlfriends and it was a super old house. It was really creepy. At the time, I was studying during the day and working nights. I also had a really unhealthy lifestyle. I used to go out with my friends and party a lot. I wasn't really in a good mind frame anyway. I didn't have great family support around me. So not long after moving into that flat, I started to experience sleep paralysis every single night. I'd had sleep paralysis before, but it had always just kind of been so sporadic that I never really paid it any mind. Whereas this was every single night without fail, sometimes several times a night, and I can't even tell you how stressful it was. What would happen is I would wake up in the middle of the night, I would be completely paralyzed, the door would open and this witch-like figure would come in and start screaming in my ear. Like so loud. It would say the most horrible things to me. It would swear and curse at me. It would say things like it wanted me dead, and it would tell me to do certain things to myself. It was really scary. At first, I didn't know what sleep paralysis was and I was young, I was only 17. My first thought was it was this old house that I was living in and it was haunted or something. I didn't know what was going on, but it started to affect me in my physical life as well. So my studies started to go downhill. I would walk to work and I would be so scared. The whole time I was like thinking it was gonna get me because I was alone and it was nighttime, it was 10 o'clock at night and nobody was around. The paranoia was just beyond belief. Like I was so scared. The longer it went on, I became more and more sleep deprived. I then went to see my doctor who put me on antidepressants and sleeping pills to try and help me get some sleep. That made things worse. I was really kind of spiraling out of control and it got to the point where I was just beyond myself. I was exhausted and I was ready for this to stop. So what happened was I moved out of the house because I thought that the house was the problem. It wasn't, and the sleep paralysis continued. The hallucinations changed a little bit. Sometimes it was like an alien abduction, or I would wake up and there'd be all these gross, stretchy creatures on top of my body. All sorts of weird stuff happened. I was thinking, okay, this is not the house. There's something wrong with me. And that was really scary. So I really started to research what I was experiencing. I was desperate for my doctor to refer me to this sleep clinic where maybe I would get some help. What I found was people directly linking sleep paralysis to astral projection. So as I went down that rabbit hole, I discovered this idea of relaxing into your sleep paralysis and not letting the fear take you over. I feel like I've had this kind of epiphany where I've realized that manifestation happens instantly when you're experiencing the non-physical world. And I feel like if you've ever heard Abraham Hicks talk, I feel like this is the vortex where the things you think about and the things that you feel really do manifest into this non-physical world before they can come into the physical. And another person I've heard talk about this is Joe Rogan, and he's talked about this in his DMT experiences. Knowing that DMT is released in the brain during sleep, there is a connection there. He was talking about how during one of his DMT experiences, he found himself in a really dark and negative mindset, and what happened was he manifested this really scary hallucination. And then when he changed his mindset, everything sort of started to bloom into beautiful imagery that was positive and happy. I really do think that when you're in the sleep paralysis state and you're kind of between worlds as far as consciousness goes, I think that you are manifesting instantly into the non-physical. Coming to that conclusion that I was causing this for myself with my negative and fearful mindset was huge, because you don't want to think you're a negative person. You don't want to think you're a fearful person. And I think it's a really hard pill to swallow. With this perspective in mind, I decided to give it a go and try and be more positive and more relaxed during sleep paralysis and just see what happens. The first night I ever tried this, my perspective changed forever. I woke up, I was in the middle of sleep paralysis. The immediate reaction was to be fearful, but I quickly changed it. I relaxed and I started to repeat to myself, I am safe, I am protected. I am safe, I am protected. I just completely relaxed. I let the hallucination wash over me. But what I noticed was that it started to change. Instead of seeing this creepy thing come into the room, it was really funny. And I saw a rainbow and I could hear like a chipmunk squeaking in my ear, and it was just hilarious. Like, I just remember feeling like it was really funny. And that's when I rolled over. I landed on the floor and I pretty much thought that I had fallen out of bed until a second later I opened my eyes and realized that it had been an astral projection experience. Ever since then, I have absolutely loved sleep paralysis. I actually induce it now if I'm not having enough of it so that I can have more astral projection experiences. But even if you're not into astral projection, if you just want to kind of stop having sleep paralysis, relaxing into it and using affirmations does help. Basically, with the whole astral projection thing, it's all about how you set your intention. So if you're experiencing sleep paralysis and you set your intention to astral project, then you can. But if your intention is to simply snap out of it and be back in your physical awareness, then you can do that too. So the key thing that I have learned about sleep paralysis after suffering with it for years is that sleep paralysis is a boggart. If you remember that scene in Harry Potter where Professor Lupin opens the closet and the boggart comes out and it transforms into the student's worst fear, and the only way for them to transform it is for them to see it in a different light, see it in a positive way, get rid of that fear. That way it transforms into something hilarious and they can sort of just observe it and not be afraid of it anymore. If you've managed to transform your sleep paralysis into a positive experience, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Otherwise, please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I will talk to you again soon.